welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who only drinks from ponds that have dead zombies in it. It's John Levingood.
Oh, that's horrible. That sounds disgusting.
Well, the reason...
You know, like when you're at a brewery, though, and you get some of these IPAs that are kind of like, they're a little dank and funky.
Yeah.
That's just dank and funk. There's no good mosaic or citra behind it when you're drinking bloated zombie pond water.
There are no Cascade hops.
Nope.
But that's what I was so, this is a big one, John. This is huge for us. We are finishing up our Resident Evil franchise podcast with Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. And there's a scene in this movie in the beginning where Alice walks up to the grossest, it's in DC, so I don't know, like it's somewhere around there, but she walks up to the grossest pond or like man-made fountain and just starts scooping water into her mouth. And there's algae and there's like logs and bricks, and then a bloated zombie pops out.
Yep.
But I'm just like, I like you, Alice, but I don't understand why you're drinking this water.
Well, I suppose like she was really in a bad place. In terms of thirst or something.
No, you're right. I've never been to the point in my life where I've wanted to drink water from something like that. But would you do it, John?
I don't know what she was feeling, but I don't think there's been a time in my life where I was actually so thirsty that I would just haphazardly do that without a moment's pause.
I mean, she's been dealing with zombies for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess throw a rock into it or something. I don't know. But, That was my. I mean,
no one ever expects though for there to be a zombie in the water.
Yeah.
Like, and the other thing is that sometimes in these movies the director will pull a fast one. Like, why was there an inert resting zombie laying down under the surface of the water?
And it shows that it can leave the water.
Right. So it's like. It's totally senseless that is purely a haunted house of horrors gag. It is a video game gag. It's the thing that it makes no plausible sense to whatever ecology of zombies we've been presented.
Do you think this zombie they're not smart enough? It didn't see Alice and go, oh man, that's Alice. I can't win a head-to-head battle. So he runs into the pond, the man-made fountain, and just lays there.
And it was there for a long time, though, because it was bloated and falling apart.
Yeah, so it's just been chilling in there.
It has been there for a long time, and there's not a reason in the world that I can come up with for it to have just been sitting there the whole time.
Do you think it owns other zombies' money? So it's laying low? I
guess, like it never gladly paid them Tuesday for the burger it had today. There's an old reference.
Would a zombie bloat?
Yeah. I mean, like a dead body.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But I guess they're like reanimated. But I mean, the water is still gonna take hold and saturate to some degree because the typical homeostatic activities aren't happening. I guess. Like it's hard to say.
All right. So how about this? Before we get any further into I love this conversation about talking about the bloated fountain zombie. But you want to answer a couple listener questions before we jump into this? I mean, this is epic. So who do you want to start with, John? Do you want me to read them? Do you want to read them?
You go ahead. You handle them. And I don't think it matters which order we do these in.
All right. So let's start with Johnny Numb.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. I mean, Johnny.
So we're going to start with with a question that is as long as a podcast.
You know, because Johnny listens to all of our podcasts, you know, and I just don't want him waiting to hear this. I want him to hear our answer right off the bat. So we got to give this one to Johnny Numb. So Johnny Numb asks, the final chapter was my first exposure to the enigmatic Ruby Rose. At around the time of the film's release, she was appearing in a plethora of sequels, Triple X 3, John Wick 2, and later Pitch Perfect 3. She's become one of those actresses who provides an incentive to check out a movie I normally wouldn't because she seems to embrace the unabashed B-movie spirit. Case in point, The Meg. My question is, which series, current or discontinued, would you have liked to see Ruby Rose in? And what type of character would she portray? One caveat, your answer cannot be the Fast and the Furious because that would be too easy. I also recognize this question is contingent on you guys liking her as much as I do, so feel free to scrap it if you don't.
Just right out of the gate, like I really do like what she tends to add to just about any movie. She has a pleasant dynamic to her. Yeah, so I'm a fan.
And I would say her roles aren't exactly written like to the hilt. She's not given a real three-dimensional character. Like in Pitch Perfect 3, she was a sassy band member. In
Triple X, she was just the tech lady.
Yeah, tech lady. And Nina Dobrev was the one who got to do all the funky stuff in Triple X. She was funny in that. And then in The Meg, she's the person who builds the tanks, and she's just hanging out. Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting? In John Wick 3, or John Wick 2, when she got hired, she had dialogue. And then the director's like, wait a second, she shouldn't have dialogue. Because she should be, like, just deadly. And then she was like, are you serious? I had all this dialogue, and then you take it all away. And she's like, she had a lot of trust in the director, because her dialogue was taken all away.
That character was very interesting, but from a practical sense, I'm totally not on board with having the head of your security not being able to call out at somebody.
Yeah.
And even they can't utilize earpieces the same way. Like, she can't give them orders over earpieces or anything. Like, she was a really badass character.
Yeah.
Right. But just that it's a great comic book villain. But in the real world, that's not going to work.
Yeah. If you have a steady, like if you're just a lower tier group of henchmen, right? And you just have one leader and you guys just kind of boost stuff and no one gets killed. You could have the henchmen learn sign language, go off of, not use the radios, maybe use Morse on the radio. I don't know. I'm getting really in depth. But the amount of henchmen that get murdered in this world, whenever they hire them, they can't all keep up with they can't all sign or they can't all, do that kind of stuff. So it would be
unless
tough.
On Henchmen LinkedIn, they are only hiring henchmen who already know sign language. And I really don't think that's a lot of them.
Yeah, especially he's just killing a lot of them too. So,
dude, there were so many well-manicured ponytails and oiled beards getting slaughtered in that movie.
I have never seen better groomed henchmen. The final battle in the mirror room, those guys shaved 5 minutes before they went in to fight him.
And they freshly oiled their beards.
Yeah, when they were called. No, do you think they have a van with mirrors on the back of the seats? And so they're in there kind of doing their beards up?
Sure, yeah, I can see it. They got the vanity.
Yeah, I mean, and there's mirrors in that room too. That'd have been funny if one of them was checking himself out and then Wick shoots him.
Just break. That seems kind of mean. Like he doesn't even know what kind of day he's gonna have, and they just like boom, half of his face is torn off while he was cleaning up his beard, like plucking a gray hair or something.
Yeah, all right. I guess I took us off track.
Okay. So in answering this question, I actually just not even deliberately, I kind of envisioned Ruby Rose replacing iconic characters in existing franchise films. But of course that kind of just goes to where I kind of see her and a kind of thing. Like I think of like James Cameron movies or something, right? Like she could have been the TX. She could have been Vasquez in Aliens. Or some other colonial marine. She could have been kind of a Ripley character. I could see her in the first Alien, probably not with sleeves of tattoos. That's a little overstated for what you expect from a character. But like, I could picture her in roles like that. Those practical, gritty action movies.
I think she would fit in well in the Pirates world.
Oh, like Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Definitely. That's a good call.
You know how they always pick up there's always some cool pirates in the films. I mean, even when I remember nothing from the fourth one. I remember a bad sword fight, and I remember him joined up running around a little bit. But in the first, second, third, or fifth, she could have been part of the crew easily.
Oh, yeah.
And then I also think, this is weird, but go with me. I've watched all the Twilight movies. I think she would have been a fun evil vampire because I was watching it again. So I was in Italy and I was watching it with Italian subtitles and it's much better. But Michael Sheen is just hamming it up in that movie. I mean, he's like, I am in not a good movie, and I'm just gonna. I mean, this movie's gonna make $700 million, but I'm just gonna like he doesn't just nibble on the scenery, he chews on the scenery. And then you have Bryce Dallas Howard hamming it up, like all like Dakota Fanning, like all these vampire villains are just straight cheesing. And I think she would be a really good evil vampire, just to like pop up for a movie, pop up in a movie, kind of be jerky, have fun with it, be like, hey, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, you guys are good actors, but you're forced to be really dour in this movie, and I don't have to be. I get to have fun. She'll actually say that in the movie, and it just gets really meta. But I think she could just like, I think she would be a good addition to that. I could see her being a cheeky vampire who's just evil. She kills one of the werewolves, and everyone's like, no! And then she's like, ha ha. Done wolf.
Yeah, I can see it. It turns out I've only seen one Twilight movie, and it was the first one, and I learned my lesson.
There's one directed by David Slade, which I've only watched each one once. And I remember it not being bad. I think that's the third one.
How many are there? 4, 5?
4 or 5. And I remember the last 2 feeling like fever dreams. I hadn't been, I was, it's not like.
You're not keeping up. You're not like rewatching them so everything's fresh.
Yeah, no. I mean, I really enjoyed the Italian dubs. I enjoyed those. But, it's because you had some Peronis, and you're like, hey, this is great. But yeah, no, those 4th and 5th. But I could see her just kind of hamming it up in one of those and then meeting her end because of K-Stew. Or in the Pirates movies, just like tat her up, who cares? Let her shoot some cannons. Let her have a baller sword fight. I think she'd be a solid addition to that. Cause I'm just, the way I'm thinking is like, she's never been the main character. So I didn't think in that terms. I just kind of threw her into like the character she has been playing.
If they remade Tremors, I think she'd be like a great addition to like a couple random misfits out in Arizona dealing with those graboids.
Or like, or the punk scientists out there. Like she's like getting her degree out there, and she has all her tats, and she's like, I'm out here checking out this world. Like she'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
Or she could be one half of the, Kevin Bacon and the other guy just turn out to be women. Her and Aubrey Plaza are running around in the.
Oh, that's a good pair right there.
Yeah, her in the desert just running around fighting tremors. Man, hey, we're gonna be, you know what I'm about to say, John. We need to be associate producers on these.
Associate producer. We're waiting for that movie to cut. If Ruby Rose is attached to anything that even resembles Tremors,
yep.
Like we expect something.
And in the credits, special thanks somewhere in the middle, so it's hard to read. We'll put Johnny Numb.
Right. For inspiring it.
That was fun.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We took that. In the beginning, John, when we did this podcast years ago, we would have gone off the rails with an answer, but we just answered that.
No, we have a good hard answer after we're amusing ourselves, not even paying attention to the question.
And I guarantee that someone, when one of our suggestions heard it and went, that could work.
Yeah.
You're listening to this podcast. I guarantee. If you didn't, tweet me or send me a message and be like, Mark, I didn't. But if you did, tweet me or message John or I and just be like, yeah, I thought that'd be a good idea. Here's a tweet.
But tell us why. Because then it's more fun to share.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it. Let us know. Just don't be like, no.
Yeah. Comments on some of your articles of the past.
Oh, man.
No.
Oh, goodness. Brother.
So much anger in there.
I read the headline and I hate this.
Just vitriol.
Oh, gosh. All right. So our next question is from, at work, I was talking to some people about movies and talking about the Resident Evil movies. And somehow it got like us into a conversation about people hanging upside down and shooting people. And we were talking about other movies. I don't want to bring it up just in case you use those. And then he was kind of like, what is your favorite? So I kind of took that and used this for this podcast. And so the question is, what is your favorite moment involving someone being upside down and like winning a gunfight or, shooting people? So what is your favorite?
In the question, I think when you wrote it